What is going on, guys? It is another Monday night. I am the Solomonster. It is your Monday Night Raw review for April 27, 2026, where tonight, Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu, they came face-to-face yet again. The cliffhanger last week was whether or not Roman would give Jacob a championship match at Backlash. They kind of left us hanging there at the end. And then Jacob went and main evented SmackDown on Friday. And I think we all knew where this was headed. But tonight we got the official response. And not only did we get a response, but we had Jacob Fatu putting his hands on Roman Reigns and using a move that I have not seen or heard mentioned in a very long time. I'm watching this show and I see Jacob Fatu is using the Tongan death grip. I'm like, are we going back to the fucking Tongan death grip here? I felt like I was transported back to the days of 1997 Nitro. But he did, and then Roman accepted the challenge, and so the World Heavyweight Championship will be on the line at Backlash in just a few weeks. We actually had the announcement of 3 matches for Backlash. Backlash is actually shaping up to be a very strong card. All the matches so far are Raw matches. I suspect that will change at the end of this week. But we have Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu for the World Heavyweight Championship. We have Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. Their match was made official tonight as well. And Io Sky and Asuka will finally, after months, step into the ring one-on-one. But it feels like there's something missing. Something is missing in this equation. I can't quite put my finger on what it is. Oh, yes, that's right. Kairi Sane will not be involved in this match. And the only time that you will ever hear this again is on one of these streams, because she's already back in Japan and she will have nothing to do with this match. Which honestly, like, not that I'm not looking forward to seeing Io and Asuka in the ring together. I've been waiting for this match for a while, but it just feels hollow now. The entire story that this match was built around, the whole payoff that this match was built upon, unless there's some last-second deal that gets made to bring her back, and you can't rule it out, right? We've seen this before. We saw this with R-Truth. But chances are that will not happen. And now that will not be taking place, and that sucks. And the match loses something because of it. It could still be a very good match, but the match loses something because of it. And you can kind of tell, I think, even looking at them tonight, Io and Asuka, who were on the show, obviously they seemed a little sad about the whole situation. They didn't have that pep in their step, and you can understand why. Their partner, their friend, is no longer there, and they probably have no good reason. They have no good explanation for it. Nobody does. It was a very stupid decision. Why you would make a decision like that before paying off the story, right? Because even if you decided to get rid of her in 3 weeks, you pay off the story, everybody goes crazy for it, and then you get rid of her, you still would have had a lot of outrage over the move. But you could at least look at it and go, okay, well, at least we got the payoff to the story. At least they were able to, kind of put a bow on it, and they didn't even do that. And that will not ever not be weird to me. But we are getting the match. The other thing that we also can take away from this show tonight is that Open Challenge Mania is running wild here on Monday Night Raw. We had Becky Lynch doing an open challenge tonight for the Women's Intercontinental title, which ended up being accepted by Io Sky, and the two of them had the best match on the entire show. But then on the same show, we had Oba Femi. After his quick win, he made short work of Grayson Waller, saying, I am now officially starting the Oba Femi Open Challenge. Which, I gotta be honest with you, is not the worst idea in the world, except they do so many open challenges that you just hear open challenge and you just kind of put your head in your hands. Like, is this really, like, this? It's such a crutch when you see it so many times. And this is across the board in wrestling, but even in WWE in particular, they fall back on it when they just can't come up with something better for people to do. So we had the U.S. title open challenge on SmackDown, which was fantastic. We have Becky Lynch now. I don't know if this is going to be a weekly thing, but Becky Lynch, at least for one night, doing an open challenge. It would be very stupid to have 2 different champions on the same show doing the open challenge gimmick. So maybe it was a one-night thing for Becky, but when you rely on it so many times, that's when it gets lazy. And that's when it loses all meaning and all value. And that's kind of where I'm at with Oba. I actually don't think it's the worst idea in the world for Oba Femi, because I was sitting here going, okay, if you don't do an open challenge, then what would you do? How do you book Oba Femi? And this is the problem, because Oba Femi is supposed to be booked and portrayed as a special attraction. You cannot just have him go out on television and wrestling Grayson Waller every single week. They did that tonight. You're not going to be able to do that every single week. There's only so many people he can beat, number one. And number two, if all he's doing is going out there and associating himself with people that are beneath him, it doesn't help Oba. All it does is drag him down. But they probably want to feature him on the show, if not every week, as often as possible. So honestly, the best solution in that case probably is to do some sort of open challenge. I don't even hate the idea. I hate the fact that they have bastardized it and they have used it and overused it so many times that here now when you have a situation where it might actually work, it just feels so run down because it's like they're just beating a dead horse with it at this point. How many times are they going to fall back on the open challenge gimmick? But it really is like when you really think about how do you use Oba Femi or push him in an effective way here on this show, if the idea is to keep him away from the World Heavyweight Championship for as long as possible to the summer or until WrestleMania next year, maybe they do King of the Ring this year and he wins King of the Ring. In SummerSlam, he gets a title match. We don't know that though. And even SummerSlam is months away. SummerSlam would be the absolute earliest that Oba Femi would be challenging for the World Championship anyway. It probably won't be for a lot longer than that. I took a look at the Raw roster to just see if I'm leaving anybody out, because I'm thinking of the roster. I'm like, even I don't know who I would want to book this man against right now. The idea of Oba Femi and the Vision doesn't really appeal to me, but the Vision is pushed as the top heel faction on the show. And they're occupied right now. Braun Breaker is occupied with Seth Rollins, and Bronson Reed is not going to be back for at least a few months. So you could put them on the side for now. And then what you're left with, for the most part, are people that are, in the middle of the card. They're in the hunt for the Intercontinental title. You have your Rusevs, and you have your JD McDonoughs, and your Finn Balor's, and Penta, right? And people like that, Dragon Lee. I don't think that they want to be putting Oba Femi in a program with Dragon Lee. So again, it's not the worst idea in the world. And I do think, by the way, that you can use this open challenge gimmick for him as a way to set up for an eventual battle between him and Gunther. Gunther, who was not on the show tonight. And maybe that's the goal here. Maybe they have an end goal in mind for this thing where they do build to that as a match. Maybe that's the match, for SummerSlam. Although if that's the match for SummerSlam, I don't know who wrestles Roman Reigns. Because you would think it would either be Gunther or it would be Oba Femi. I can only hope that they have some sort of end goal in mind for this. And they didn't just come up with it because we don't know what to do, so we'll just do an open challenge and we'll figure it out on the fly. It would be sort of appropriate, I think, if we were to learn that is what's going on here, because we've seen before where they don't necessarily have a good end game for where they want to go with things. The John Cena heel turn. But yes, Oba Femi is going to be doing his own version of an open challenge here on this show. And yes, he did explain in the promo. I'm aware. I have ears. He was explaining that the champions are tied up right now. That does not address the question that I just proposed. What do you do with him in the meantime? The whole point is there is no great person for him to work with at the moment. And it beats the hell out of not having him on the show, which honestly would be even worse. Because for him to go in there at WrestleMania and beat Brock Lesnar, get the biggest win of his career, and then he disappears for 6 weeks, that doesn't do him any favors. This is at least a way to get him on the show pretty much every single week. But I suspect that the people who are going to be stepping up to accept the open challenge, first of all, they have a death wish. I don't know why you would want to have a line of people lining up to accept an open challenge from Oba Femi. I don't suspect that they're going to be big names. I just don't want him hanging around, the mid-card for 3 months. Hopefully they got a few big names they could throw in there. But in addition to that, it was a big night in Laredo, Texas, for one Roxanne Perez, because she is from Laredo, Texas. And boy, I mean, she got a standing ovation at one point during her match tonight. These fans were very happy to see Roxanne on the show tonight and pick up a win, by the way, in her match. I can't say the same for Stephanie Vicare. Not a great night for Stephanie, who they wrote off of television tonight. Joe Hendry made his Raw debut in concert. I questioned some of the lyrics, or at least the timing of them. We'll talk about that. Sol Ruca was not on the show, but she is going to sign her Raw contract on the show next week, we were told. And Ethan Page, who also debuted and got called up last week, was back on the show this week, although not wrestling. One other person who was not on the show tonight, CM Punk. This is after CM Punk came out on TV last week and said, I'm not going away. I'm not taking a vacation, right? He made it very clear that he's not just going to disappear for weeks and weeks, but he disappeared for 1 week, at least on Monday. Is he going to be there on Friday? CM Punk to SmackDown makes all the sense in the world, but they have not hinted at that. They have not said anything about that outside of his interaction with Cody. They have not said anything about what his status is. I would have to think he is going to end up on SmackDown. I don't know what he does if he stays on Raw. What does he do? What do you do with him? I don't want to see him and Seth Rollins again. And Rollins is busy anyway. Clearly, Roman and Punk, their stories have now diverted. Roman will be doing his thing. Punk will be doing his thing. If Punk is not going back after the World Heavyweight Championship, he has to go to SmackDown. So I would suspect that we will see him on the show this Friday. But let's talk about the show for tonight. Let's talk about Monday, because it is Monday. And this is your Monday Night Raw review. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, as I know many of you do each and every single week. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button as well. Well over 92,000 now and counting. And super chats are open. I will be reading all of your messages as they come in. Hey, Matthew Hunter, thank you for the sub. Welcome to the channel. And also, if you missed it, episode 960 of The Sound Off went up yesterday. Over 2 hours of content. A lot of good stuff in there. I appreciate the feedback. Number 2 today on the wrestling podcast charts here in the U.S. All the way up to the number 2 spot. That's because of you guys, so thank you for that. Let's do a little thing that we do here at the beginning. We're going to spin the wheel and find out what our likes goal is. This is how many times I need you guys to hit the thumbs up tonight. We're going to do Be the Booker. I'm going to need you to smash that button 600 times. And I don't know about that. We're at 271 right now. So 600. That's the goal for Be the Booker tonight. They kicked things off here with some highlights from the end of the show last week. The confrontation, the face-to-face between Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu, and the way things were left, where Roman said, I'm going to give you 1 week because Jacob wants the World Heavyweight Championship. I'm going to give you 1 week to think things over. United we stand, divided we fall. Do you really want to divide the family? I'll give you 7 days. So then they pitched it to a pre-tape vignette. Roman Reigns, Jimmy and Jey Uso, they were sitting at the head of the table. And Roman said he didn't understand where Jacob was coming from. Said that everybody had a couple of years to take advantage of the fact that he was no longer on top. And Jacob procrastinated, and now he wants what belongs to him. Jimmy doesn't disagree, but he gets Jacob, wanting to upgrade his lifestyle and his household. But it shouldn't come at the cost of Roman and the family. And Jey says that Jacob is dangerous. He laid out all the MFTs by himself which is not terribly difficult to do. But he laid out all of the MFTs on SmackDown on Friday night. He's unpredictable. Says that there needs to be consequences. And Roman says that Jey is right. We're not doing charity here. So Roman says he's going to chew on it. He's going to handle it later tonight. And Jey said, family first. And they all put their hands out. Roman put his hand on theirs and said, the first family. So if there was ever any doubt coming out of WrestleMania, the Bloodline is officially back together as a group. We're back to the Bloodline here. The only question is, do they add any new members? Is Jacob going to end up linking up with them? How does Solo factor into this? Is he going to disband the MFTs? Well, we don't know. But the Bloodline is back. To be honest with you, the Bloodline never really left. If we're being honest, the Bloodline never really went away. They just kind of took a back seat for a while, and now they're back. Seth Rollins made his entrance, came to the ring for a promo. Said the reason he lost to Gunther at WrestleMania wasn't because Gunther was better than him on that night. There was a reason that Roman Reigns is walking around with a World Heavyweight title, and it's not because Roman pinned him. The reason for both of those things is Braun Breaker. And Rollins said he knew Breaker was backstage with 9 staples in his head. Boy, you know, Breaker's got 9 staples in his head. Sol Ruca has 8. Right? Coming out of coming out of NXT. What is going on in this company? These people got to be more careful. That's 17 staples right there. How many more staples do we need? So he said, you're welcome for that, because Rollins is the one who accidentally busted open the back of his head with the lip of that steel chair. So Rollins says he gave Braun everything on a silver platter, and he repaid him by taking everything away from him. Braun was the reason that he lost that championship, did not main event WrestleMania, and didn't win his match. How did it benefit Braun in any way? So Breaker had come out with Paul Heyman. He had joined Rollins in the ring, and now it was time for Breaker to answer. Time for his response. And Braun says that he and Bronson Reed, they were Seth's errand boys, put out fires for him. He and Reed had to sit back and listen to Seth recite the same crap every single week. Braun never needed Seth. He never needed his vision. The only reason that they're standing here is he needed Paul Heyman. And Rollins was taken aback by this. You need him. That tub of goo over there. That bag of bones. That guy. So he talked about how, he wanted, Rollins wanted to go to NXT a few years ago and fight their best. And Shawn Michaels said, our best is Braun Breaker. And Rollins said, hell yeah. Bring him on. And then, after that, Heyman asked Seth about a year later about taking Braun Breaker under their wing. And again, Seth said, hell yeah. Let's bring him aboard. Braun has it all. Seth says he's seen everyone come through here 14 years in this company, and Breaker is the most versatile athlete that he's ever seen. Braun has everything to be the next big star in this industry, except the most important thing. Seth points up here at his head. Seth knows how it is to be a young cat thinking the business owes him everything and betting on himself and taking chances. The difference is Braun tried, Seth succeeded. And every time Seth bet on himself, it ended up with a main event or a world championship. For Breaker, he got Austin Theory and Logan Paul and happy endings with Paul Heyman, which is a horrific image. And I really don't ever want to hear about that ever again. Those are words that should simply never go together. So Rollins tells Breaker he's not ready. And Braun responds back and says that he's well on his way to being a main eventer with or without Seth Rollins. Even before the Vision, he was well on his way to being a big star. He says Seth's body can't handle it. His mind is too brittle, and his shoulder can't handle the weight of the strap anymore. Rollins is a first ballot Hall of Famer, the best pro wrestler in the entire world, at being number 2. And Seth tells Baby Steiner that you're pretty good. Did you call Big Papa Pump for your hookup? Backlash is 2 weeks away. Seth is going to give Braun the opportunity to prove that he is ready. He goes, Steiner, you're not even number 2 in your own family. And Seth drops the mic and he leaves the ring. For the record, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Breaker is already better than his father. So I would wager that he is, in fact, the number 2 Steiner. I can't put him above Scott. I will put him above Rick. As far as the exchange here, I mean, they had it was a good back and forth. Weren't lighting the world on fire. Not a lot of intensity here or anything like that. But it was fine. It was a fine segment to set up the match that I think we all knew was coming. This was going to be the WrestleMania match. Even though Breaker had already been cleared going into WrestleMania, they didn't want to rush it. They wanted to wait a few extra weeks. Otherwise, we would have had this match in Las Vegas. We're getting it at Backlash instead. And I think it's only going to be the first. This is not going to be a one and done. They're going to have a match at Backlash. They may have a rematch at Clash in Italy. This is just match number one between these two. Now we go backstage. Stephanie Vicare is walking. Presumably she's walking towards the ring. And she's got her new t-shirt on. And she gets ambushed by Raquel Rodriguez. Roxanne Perez appears on screen and gets a big pop because they're in Laredo, Texas, which is her hometown. But she grabs an equipment case as Raquel is holding Stephanie down on the ground, and she rams the equipment case into Stephanie. Liv Morgan is standing nearby. She leans down to tell Stephanie, now this is over because this is my championship. And the Judgment Day walk away. And I'm watching this, and my first thought is, they're writing this woman off. She must have an injury. Later in the show, we got the update from Michael Cole, who said that Stephanie suffered a second-degree AC sprain of the shoulder, and she could be out for a little bit. A little bit is kind of vague. I mean, that could be 2 weeks. That could be 2 months. I suspect she won't be gone for too long, but there must be some sort of injury issue, and this was their way of writing her off television, so I thought this would be a rematch at Backlash, and now it looks like we're not going to get the match at all. At least not for a while. Half an hour into the show, we got our first actual match. We finally got some in-ring action here. Penta, non-title, one-on-one against Rusev. Probably released, says Alex. No, they are not releasing Stephanie Vicare. I talk about being stunned about Kairi. That would stun me. They're not releasing Stephanie. This was a receipt for the smashing of the heads a few weeks ago. Yeah, I mean, I would say that Liv probably has good reason to be angry about that. So anyway, Ethan Page made his way out after the bell rang. He comes down to the ring, and he's going to take a ringside seat to watch this match. Look at this guy. Already, this is only his second week on the show, and he's already involved in the title scene. I think he's going to do very well for himself on Raw. So they pointed out that Penta is undefeated so far in 2026. The two of them, they were fighting up on the top rope. Rusev got knocked off. Penta came off with a crossbody. Rusev then blocked a Mexican Destroyer attempt, hit a Machka kick, and he was setting up for the Accolade. Penta slips out. Penta then teased some sort of springboard move, but he held onto the rope because he had a sense the Machka kick was coming. And it was, and Rusev missed, and then Penta rolled him up and picked up the win. So even in a non-title situation, Rusev still cannot pick up a win. I'm actually glad because it would have been very easy for them. Oh, it's non-title, so we'll beat the champion. I didn't even realize that Penta is unbeaten so far this year. So if that's the case, keep him strong. He's the champ. He should win. And so that's what he did. Now, Rusev attacked him when the match was over. Ethan Page got into the ring. He tried to join in. Rusev didn't really need his help. He wasn't very interested. Penta starts fighting back, though. And so Ethan comes back. He attacks Penta from behind. Now the two of them are both putting the boots to the champ. And this brings out Javon Evans. He runs out to make the save. And at the end of all this, he drops Rusev with an OG cutter. Him and Penta come face to face. The two of them shake hands and raise each other's arm. So this feels like a tag team match is incoming, possibly next week. We got a pre-tape with El Grande Americano Kaiser, flanked by Rayo and Bravo. He cut the promo half in Spanish and then the back half in English, talking about his upcoming Mask versus Mask match at the AAA show, which I believe is coming up on May 30th, I want to say. And to prepare, this is going to be him against El Grande Gable. And so to prepare for this, he wanted to challenge the biggest Lucha Libre star that there is, right here in Laredo, Texas. He wanted to issue a challenge, not an open challenge, to Rey Mysterio. And the crowd cheered this, and we did end up getting that match later on in the show. After this, we have Becky Lynch coming out for an in-ring promo, the new Women's Intercontinental Champion. She talked about how she got rid of AJ Lee once and for all. She said that she became the first wrestler in history to win 4 different championships at WrestleMania, the first 3-time women's Intercontinental Champion, and now has the most matches of any female superstar ever in the history of WrestleMania. And then she warned she was coming after The Undertaker's undefeated streak, I guess, or his record, whatever, at WrestleMania. So all of that was wonderful, but what happened after the match, she said, was more important. She looked out this sea of 50,000 fans in Las Vegas, and she saw her little girl sitting in the front row. So she took her daughter up the ramp and to the back, and she realized she needed to show her what a real champion looked like. And it wasn't about the 5-star hotels, the private jets, or the fancy tour buses. It wasn't about going to the biggest cities. It was about showing up in rundown towns like Laredo and showing up for the common folk. She said that she knew the fans wanted something new and shiny and exciting, and so she was going to issue an open challenge to any woman who wanted to come down to the ring and challenge her for her women's Intercontinental title. Io Sky makes her entrance, and she joined Becky in the ring. She told Becky that she accepts her challenge. Becky then said, I talked about wanting to face the best of the best. I wanted something new and shiny and exciting, and you are none of those things. So she wondered if Io was accepting on behalf of Rhea Ripley, the member of their tag team who actually has gold. And Becky said that she wanted to face Shawn Michaels, not Marty Jannetty. And I have to say, as dated as that reference is at this point, where it's a 1992 reference, the crowd reacted in a big way to it, which actually kind of warmed my heart. Kudos to the crowd in Laredo, Texas for getting the reference and then reacting to it. Because I was worried like she was going to mention this fucking Marty Jannetty reference in 2026 in front of these crowds. And it was just going to be like a totally dead response. They actually responded to that. So Io then popped Becky in the face. And Becky scrambled out to the floor. And she went to go exit through the timekeeper's area. But before she can make her way through, Adam Pearce, we hear his disemboweled voice. He comes out from the back. He says, "Hold up, Becky. Hold up." Said that you issued an open challenge, and it was accepted by Io. And so therefore, the match is official. And he called for a referee to come out. So we ended up getting, for the women's Intercontinental title, we had Becky Lynch defending against Io Sky. So Michael Cole mentioned that Io and Rhea, they beat the Kabuki Warriors last week. And Corey Graves said that Asuka was so upset that we wouldn't be seeing her former pupil for a long time. Never made any mention of Kairi Sane. I mean, that was as close as they came to mentioning her name. So during the match, Io delivered a sunset flip powerbomb to Becky on the floor. That was ahead of a commercial break. After which, Becky hit a superplex, floated over into a DDT for a near fall. Io countered out of a manhandle slam. She dropped Becky with a butterfly backbreaker. And then Io went for the moonsault. Becky, though, got her feet up on the way down and then hit the manhandle slam, only got a near fall out of it. Now, outside the ring, Io followed up with a springboard moonsault. And while the referee was checking on Becky, who was back in the ring now, Io was on the apron, and she was about to set up for something. Here comes Asuka. Now, before this, Io took her boot off. I don't know what that was about. Maybe she had rocks in her shoe. I have no fucking idea. So she took her boot off first, and then she got up on the apron. She was about to do a springboard something. Asuka comes running down to the ring. She trips her up. And that allowed Becky to hit one more manhandle slam for the win to retain the championship. So after the match was over, Asuka put Io in the Asuka lock. Io was tapping out. Asuka wouldn't let go. And ultimately she went unconscious, and then Asuka stood over her body as the crowd chanted, "We want Kairi." I couldn't hear if they were chanting it earlier. I know they just chanted it this one time. And it wasn't like it was overwhelming throughout the entire show or anything, but they definitely chanted it here. The match itself was actually very good. It was a very good TV match here between these two, and they got some time. I didn't time it out exactly, but I'm Pretty sure they got close to 15 minutes here for this match. So this was good stuff. And then as far as Io and Asuka, again, like I said before, it's great that we're finally going to get the match. And I certainly hope they give these, women plenty of time. It's just not going to be the same, though. The whole point of it was that you build to this big climactic moment and you pay off this storyline, this relationship, all these segments that we've had now for months on end. And now we're not going to get that. We're not going to get that payoff, and it sucks. So I'm glad we're finally getting it, but once we get it, I guess these two will just move on to something else, and Kairi will be but a distant memory. At least Kairi finally got away from Asuka. I like to think in storyline, Kairi said, you know what? I'm not going to put up with this shit anymore. She just flew herself home just to get away from this woman. I'm booking my own angle here in my head since WWE was too fucking lazy to do it themselves. We go backstage. El Grande Gable having a conversation in the back with Rey Mysterio. And he wanted to know if Rey, because he saw the conversation that Rey had earlier on with Kaiser. And he wants to know, do I have to watch my back when I face Kaiser in our mask versus mask match next month? And Rey said, no, all I wanted to do is just, I want to play it down the middle. I'm not choosing sides here. He said that all I want is for the two of you to respect Lucha Libre. That's it. So Kaiser and the Americanos show up. Gable told him, mind your own business. And they started bickering back and forth, and Rey had to shout them down and said, I'm not choosing sides here. So then elsewhere, Byron Saxton is talking to the Usos. And Jimmy says that the OTC will make his decision when he is ready. I love how it only took a few weeks for these guys to be back in like lockstep with Roman Reigns. Like they were their own men, and now all of a sudden they're back to being basically his errand boys and falling in line, and everything's about the OTC, and they're taking a back seat. It was so quick. Apparently they have no issue with this. So LA Knight walks up. And now LA Knight teamed with these guys, right? They won a match at WrestleMania this year. LA Knight walks in. He wants to remind them of who they are. Jay won the World Heavyweight Championship on his own. Jimmy has all the potential to be World Heavyweight Champion, but he won't do so under the thumb of Roman Reigns. So Jay tells him, you need to shut up. And Jimmy says that it's family business. And Knight said, well, the bloodline, you ran roughshod over this place. But power eventually corrupts, and that's when it becomes his business. Yeah, regressive booking. That's exactly what it is. Ruthless regression with the Usos. So now it was time for the Raw debut of the former TNA World Heavyweight Champion, Joe Hendry. He was going to be in concert. Now, again, I'm watching with the VPN, so I'm seeing everything during the commercial breaks. He got a jobber entrance for the TV audience. He got his entrance during the commercial. So when they came back live, he was already in the ring. This is his first night on the show. How are you going to give this man a jobber entrance? I mean, his theme song is like the biggest part of his act. This is his Raw debut. They didn't even allow his song to play through on the actual TV show. Unbelievable. So he's sitting in the ring already. He's got his guitar is there, and he's sitting in the ring. And he said he had a big decision to make lately. And so he's going to tell us about it in a song. I'm not going to sing the song to you. I'm just going to recite the lyrics to you that he came up with for this song. He's won the title everywhere he goes. He's been on WrestleMania and many other shows. But the time has come for him to pick one brand, and he hopes the other brands will understand that Joe Hendry's on Raw. The next time you turn on Netflix, you won't just have to chill. There will be a whole new thrill. Respect to the ruler. He acknowledges the OTC, but he needs Adam Pearce to fire Logan Paul. Can we fire Logan Paul? And he asked the fans to join in, and they're singing, can we fire Logan Paul? Fire Logan Paul. And Corey Graves said, I don't remember if it was here or if it was later on when Michael Cole on commentary started singing the same thing, fire Logan Paul, fire Logan Paul. But Corey Graves said, it's not funny to joke about someone losing their job. And I would say, yeah, it's a little tone deaf, I think, for this, considering what happened a few days ago. Maybe just a little bit. So the Vision comes out. Man, Logan Paul is not very happy about being told that he should be fired. And he is just, he's overacting and he's just throwing a whole fit. I mean, he was really overacting here and just beside himself. And he says that you can't fire me. I'm unfireable, he says. He says that Joe Hendry made the worst mistake of his life. Your first night will be your last. So then Theory was able to speak. He said their tag team belts make him and Logan winners. Hendry said that he watched WrestleMania. He saw a couple of primetime losers. So Theory shoved Hendry, who then struck his pose where he turns his back and then he turns around and they zoom in on him. He's all angry. And he tries to fight these two guys off by himself. They overwhelm him. He's outnumbered. So here come Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. They hit the ring. They send Logan out to the floor. Ford goes up top for a frog splash. Logan, though, pulls Theory out to the floor. And Joe Hendry does his dive. Now, he does this dive where he'll charge towards the ropes. It's like he's vaulting over the top rope. And he just throws his entire body. And he's putting his full faith and trust for somebody to catch him. And so he takes out the Vision with this big dive. You know what the best heel move would be. Joe Hendry, he throws his entire body one day out over the top rope, and they pull a Samoa Joe nope. And they just sort of step aside, and Joe Hendry just fucking splats on the ground. I don't think that the guys in the back would appreciate that very much. I'm just saying, though, if you're a heel, can't think of a better heel move than that. So he wipes out the Vision, gets back in the ring, and he celebrates with the Street Profits, and they're all swaying and they're throwing their hands back and forth to the music. As far as his debut, I mean, look, if you are, I would imagine that everybody listening to this or watching this right now, you know who Joe Hendry is. You've seen Joe Hendry, TNA, NXT. He wrestled Randy Orton at WrestleMania. You know who Joe Hendry is. If you are somebody who does not know who Joe Hendry is, or if you only know him from the limited stuff he's done, you know, again, maybe in NXT, you may not be aware of the fact that what helped get this guy over in the first place were these songs that he would do. And he would be feuding with somebody in TNA, and he would write a song about them, insulting them. And that and his theme song, that's really what got him over in the first place. So it can be entertaining. Not every song is going to be a winner, obviously. I think with the audience, it's a good way. Like, he'll get over that way. He's a very creative guy. I'm not saying he has to come up with new songs every single week. I think he'll do well. You know, I get questions from time to time about people. Oh, do you think this guy's going to be a success on the main roster? Do you think this gimmick will work on the main roster? And I've gotten that question about a lot of people. Danhausen, some of the people from NXT. And I've gotten questions like that about Joe Hendry. How far do you think he'll go on the main roster? You know, what's his ceiling on the main roster? I think Joe Hendry is going to get over just fine. Just like Danhausen had. Actually, Danhausen is more over than Joe Hendry will be, but yeah, there were people who probably didn't think Danhausen would be over on the main roster, and look at the success he's had so far. I'm not worried about that for him. I think his ceiling, though, is going to be limited to either the Intercontinental title, you know, being on Raw, or maybe the US title. To me, that's his ceiling. I'm not saying that, you know, he can't mingle with the main eventers from time to time or be in a tag match with them. Him challenging, though, being a serious challenger for the World Heavyweight Championship, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen this year. It's not going to happen anytime soon. And that's okay. He could still have a successful run for himself, being a supporting player in the mid-card or the kind of upper mid-card of the show. That's where I see him settling. I don't see him the way he was in TNA or NXT, where he was the top guy, you know, where he was the world champion. I don't see that here. I don't see that here. I don't see that on SmackDown. Doesn't mean that he can't have success. I think he'll do okay. Now we go backstage. Speaking of people who probably are not going to be okay. Grayson Waller, he complained to Adam Pearce about giving everybody else opportunities. Where's my opportunity? What about me? So Pearce was trying to warn him. He said, Oba Femi, because Oba was standing behind him. And Waller was completely oblivious to this, and he just kept talking, and he said that Femi was overrated, and he only beat Brock because Brock was at the end of his career. So Waller then turned around to see that Oba Femi was standing behind him, and Femi asked Adam Pearce to make a match between the two of them, and so Pearce made the match official. Elsewhere in the back, Joe Hendry and the Street Profits are walking together and exchanging some compliments. And Seth Rollins walks up to the Street Profits after Joe exits. And basically he was trying to butter up to them. They didn't want to hear from him. They basically told him in so many words, just get lost. And I was like, good for them. Rollins was a fucking idiot. He was a jerk to so many people on this show. Why would anybody want to be this guy's friend? That wouldn't make any sense. Seth Rollins should have no friends on this show. He alienated everybody on the show. Why would anybody want to be friends with him? Why would anybody want to partner up with him? Good on the Street Profits. We got our own business to deal with. We didn't start coming out after the Vision to save your ass. You deal with them by yourself. So then we had Rey Mysterio against El Grande Americano Kaiser, who I will point out got an apology earlier today from Ric Flair after his comments on the Ariel Helwani show last week. So I see the alcohol finally left his bloodstream. He apologized. So Ray kicked Grande into the ropes. He was going to go for the 619. Bravo tripped up Ray. And so Ryo on the other side, he got up on the apron. He was trying to help El Grande load the mask with the little metal plate. Ray, though, comes in, 619s them both. So Kaiser was able to avoid the drop of the dime, and then he goes to load the mask up. But here's the OG Americano. And Ray hits both of them. OG goes flying to the floor. 619, drop of the dime, and Rey Mysterio picks up the win. So he reaches down because the little metal plate is now laying on the floor. And he picks up the plate, and he's basically accusing both of them of trying to use it. Keeps it, and he leaves. Now the two El Grandes are in the ring together, and they start going at it. And basically what they did here was a much abbreviated poor man's version of the pull-apart they had in AAA a few weeks ago before WrestleMania, which was fucking great. This was too short to be anything. And if you listen to the crowd reaction during this, the crowd didn't give a shit. It doesn't work here. Like that pull-apart brawl with the two, because Kaiser is so over in Mexico right now. I mean, he really is. He's one of the biggest baby faces in the country. Came out of nowhere with this. And so when they did that angle a few weeks ago, and Undertaker booked this big pull-apart brawl between the two of them, it got over like gangbusters. I mean, the reaction to it was like an old school heat angle. People were losing their minds over this pull-apart. And these guys were not holding back. I mean, they made it look legit. It was great. Best pull-apart brawl I've seen in years. This was a poor copy of that. And the crowd didn't give a shit. Because this angle is not over here. It's super over in Mexico. And I think that the heat for that mask match at the end of May is going to be off the charts. Like, I am actually very much looking forward to seeing that match. But the reaction tonight could not compare to the reaction that it got in Mexico. Even if there were some light chants, and it was nothing by comparison. And then they just cut away to the very next thing. So it didn't have the same impact. But I am looking forward to seeing that match. Hopefully that will be the end of this whole, for Gable, not Kaiser, the end of the whole Americano thing. Obviously, I'm hoping Gable loses and gets unmasked, and then he can move on with his fucking life and do something else. For Kaiser, though, I mean, ride that wave. Ride that wave, brother. There's no reason to put an end to it now. I mean, he's on a roll. Long may it continue for him. Maybe he can issue a challenge to Ric Flair. Maybe Flair will come out of retirement and he will wrestle in Has Ric Flair ever wrestled in AAA? I don't believe so. I don't think he ever had a AAA match. It is pretty crazy that a German guy is one of the most over things in Mexico. It's how it goes sometimes. So we learned here that Backlash is going to feature Braun Breaker against Seth Rollins, Io Sky against Asuka. We got a pre-tape promo from Asuka, which was very good. She said that when she's done with Io, or she will say when she's done with Io, she's still her senpai, and all Io has done is disappoint her. Asuka thought that she did something wrong to make Io turn against her, but Io is the problem. She is Asuka's biggest failure. They're both alone now because Asuka doesn't want another Io. Throwing some shade at Kairi there. So Io killed the family, and nothing will stop Asuka from destroying her. And at Backlash, Asuka will teach her one last lesson. Io is not and never will be ready for Asuka. This all just makes me very sad. Oba Femi, one-on-one with Grayson Waller. Oba comes out, shadowy silhouette as he's making his entrance. Fucking great entrance. So the bell rings. Oba clotheslines Waller before tossing him into the corner. And Waller was able to avoid one of the shots that he went for. He got like a minimal amount of offense here. And then he was outside the ring, and he has that move where he dives in for that rolling cutter. So he went for the rolling cutter into the ring. Oba just picked him up and tossed him aside. And then the fall from Grace followed shortly thereafter. And thanks for coming, Grayson Waller. Don't look at your phone anytime soon. So Oba then gets on the mic and he asks Laredo, are you feeling good tonight? He's feeling good too. Grayson is not, but we don't care about that. Grayson did say something, though, in the back that was right. There is no opportunity around here. He said because all the big champions are locked in with their contenders. But Oba has a solution to this problem. As of today, he is starting the Oba Femi Open Challenge. Any man that wants to prove himself can step up. You will be stepping up to the ruler, or as he says, the ruler. So we now have the Oba Open Challenge. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe he did this gimmick already once in NXT. I don't know how long it lasted. Excuse me. I don't know how long it lasted, but I'm almost positive when he was the North American champion, he did an open challenge gimmick. So it's not even the first time that we're getting an Oba Femi Open Challenge, technically. And again, to go back to what I was saying earlier, I think the Open Challenge is just relied upon far too often. I wish that it would be utilized selectively and not, well, when we have nothing better for someone to do or we can't come up with a better idea, we'll just have them do an open challenge. You do it so often, now Oba's going to do it. Oba, do you realize that the entire reason that we got Oba and Brock at WrestleMania is because Brock did an open challenge and Oba accepted. So now Oba is turning around and doing the exact same thing. And one of the good things about it is that it will be a way to get him on the television show pretty much every single week, which is good because you want him to be on the show. But again, the bad news is I hate that we keep going back to this. And how long can you really do this? You almost can't do it every week. Even though he's doing an open challenge, I actually think we're not going to see him on the show every week because you're going to run out of people. And what are you going to do? You're going to start bringing people from other brands? Are people from NXT going to come in and accept the open challenge? People from SmackDown? Probably. The more I think about this, probably you're going to have to. You're going to have to use people from some of the other brands because you're going to run out of people. Otherwise, you're just going to end up with Tozawa and Otis and people of that ilk. And that's just not the kind of thing I think that you should be doing with Oba Femi. I mean, you could come up with competition that's a little bit stiffer than that. But again, the pool of talent they have access to for this is going to be somewhat limited. So I'm more interested in like, what is their plan for him by the time we get to the end of the summer? Like, what are we looking at here? Are we looking at Oba and Gunther, or are they going to throw him into the deep end of the pool a lot quicker than maybe some people think and actually have him fighting for the championship? Because this is the conundrum now. When you have somebody like this who beats Brock, you give him the Brock push, because if you don't, what is the alternative? He wins the Intercontinental title? He doesn't need the Intercontinental title. That title should be reserved for people like Penta and Rusev and Ethan Page, right? Who would benefit from actually being in that division and fighting for it. Oba has already ascended beyond that. He's the guy who beat Brock at WrestleMania, his first WrestleMania match. I mean, if that isn't the stamp of approval, I don't know what is. So now it's like, well, shit, what do we do with this guy? If we're not ready to have him in there with Roman Reigns yet, what the fuck do we do with him? This is the problem. So I don't mind the open challenge concept. I just hope they have a really good, payoff to this idea. And it's not just open-ended where, okay, we'll do this until we can actually figure out what the hell we want to do with this guy. Where we see him in August, where we see him in July, in September. I think the Brock push is the way to go here. I think you put that World Heavyweight Championship on him a lot sooner than WrestleMania, because if you don't, it's going to be very difficult, I think, to sustain this. You've done such a good job with him. Like, they could not have handled the Brock stuff any better with him. I gave them a lot of credit, a lot of praise for it. But now it's over. And now you've got to come up with, okay, what's next? And there's just not a lot of great options right now. So I hope what they have in mind for him, if anybody was going to get the special treatment as far as like, okay, let's come up with a long-term plan here for this guy, it's Oba Femi. That's my hope for this. But he's not sniffing that world title for at least several more months. Got to find a way to kind of tide him over in the meantime. I don't know what his injury status is, but I kind of want to see a match with him and Sheamus. And frankly, I think you could even do a short program out of it, not even just a one-off. Sheamus has been out for a while. I would have to think that he's probably due to come back any month now. I wouldn't mind seeing that match. That is a match that I would like to see very much. But again, I just don't know what his current status is. Liv Morgan, she talked to Roxanne Perez in the back. Morgan wanted to finish the conversation that they started having before WrestleMania, before Stephanie bashed their heads together. And Liv still has a little bit of a bump on her. It's funny, Roxanne actually doesn't have a scratch on her. So if she has any like residual effects from that, like they did the makeup and you can't even see it. Liv definitely got the worst end of that. But she wanted to continue the conversation. Apparently, they're barred from speaking to each other when there's no camera present. Apparently, she can only talk to her on the show. So she's glad she finally got a hold of her. So Liv said she knows it must have been tough for Roxanne when she was home to watch everything that went down with Finn Balor, because Balor and her were very close. Balor's the one who brought her into the Judgment Day. But Liv said that they were a family, and Balor put himself before the family. Liv would never do that, so she would be in Roxanne's corner tonight to cheer her on during her match. And Liv asked Roxanne, "Do you trust me?" And Roxanne nodded, told her, though, "Go on without me." So Morgan left, and as soon as Liv Morgan left, Finn Balor showed up. He snuck his way in there. And he warned Roxanne she couldn't trust anybody in the Judgment Day. Roxanne wondered if she could trust Finn. And she said, "Look, I have a match to get ready for. You should leave before you get hurt." Finn wished her luck and hopes that she knows what she's doing. And that led into the tag team match. It was Bayley and Lyra Valkyria taking on Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez. Roxy got a great hometown reaction. These people gave her a standing ovation when she tagged into this match. They were so happy to see her. It's a big homecoming for her. They actually booed Bayley and Lyra when they were in there against Roxanne. So Perez set Bayley up for pop rocks at one point. She was able to avoid it. She had a Bayley to belly for a 2 count after Rodriguez broke up the pin. Liv Morgan jumped up on the apron, so Bayley went after her. Morgan jumped down, though. She yanked Bayley down across the rope in the process. And that distraction, it's not even a distraction, that interference allowed Roxanne to hit a Shining Wizard and then pop rocks for the win. They actually gave her a win here in her hometown. They resisted temptation. It was always a Vince thing, but we've seen Triple H do it too. Like when someone's in their hometown, you're very tempted to beat them in their hometown, right? It's great heat. It did the right thing. They gave her a big win. Everybody was happy. Nothing special about the match itself. It was really all about Roxanne. And it was very cool to see her get that kind of reaction, which she never does. I mean, not like that. So that was cool. So I guess the question now is like, is Roxanne going babyface? If so, when? I don't see her and Balor branching off like together to like start their own group or anything like that. Balor and the Judgment Day, clearly there's still, a story there that they're pursuing where does Roxanne stay? Does Roxanne leave? I think if Money in the Bank was in June like it was last year, the timing would be perfect because June is not that far away. And you could drag this out until June and have Roxanne win Money in the Bank there. And then it would just feed in so perfectly going into SummerSlam, depending on like when they would want her to cash in, as far as her like teasing a potential cash in, and Liv's got the world championship and it creates all this drama. Money in the Bank, though, this year is not until after SummerSlam. It's the latest it's ever been. It's the beginning of September. It's still a ways away. I don't know if they're just going to drag this out until then, but it's the Judgment Day, so of course they will. Of course they will. Do you know how long they've dragged out some of this Judgment Day shit in the past? Years. Literal years. What's another few months for WWE? They'll stall this out as long as possible. I'm still sticking with Roxanne, though, as my early pick to win that briefcase this year. And then we were down to the closing segment. Sol Ruca needs to be women's champion. Dude, she hasn't signed her contract yet. You're already putting the title on her. She's not Oba Femi. She does not need the title right away. We got people in the chat that are already booking Sol to be champion. She hasn't even put pen to paper yet on her contract. Let's not get carried away here. Not everybody should be getting the Brock push, okay? That should be reserved for a very select few. Roman Reigns being one of them. But he doesn't need the Brock push. He's been getting the Brock push for 10 years now. He came out for the closing segment. Every time I hear that OG Tribal Chief thing, man, oh man, that song it's so much better than that last song he had. Oh, my God. The last song he had wasn't terrible, but it was not anything like the OG theme. So he gets into the ring and he does his usual aura farming and takes his time. He says, they made this title in spite of me to try to take away from my shine, but it never worked. There's an old saying, the title don't make the man makes the title. And that's exactly what he's done with this strap. He put it in the Night 2 WrestleMania main event for the first time. Said he made this title relevant. Now you can finally be proud of this title. You can respect this title. You can choose to acknowledge this title. Laredo, Texas, acknowledge me. And they all did. So that brought Jacob Fatu out to the ring. And Roman told him, perfect timing. I was just getting to you. I gave you a week. I gave you time to think. And he said he was hoping that Jacob made the right choice, the choice to unite their family and not divide it. So Fatu said, you gave me a week. I didn't need a week. I didn't need a day. I didn't even need an hour to think about it. He didn't hesitate when he told him that he didn't want that title, but he needs that title. And Jacob said that Roman must be stuck in tribal chief land. Roman hasn't grinded like him. 12 years of hard work, 12 years of grinding and suffering, not knowing when the next meal was going to be. When they were in the bloodline, he was broke, trying to figure out what he was going to do. Is he going to get here or not? And a small but noticeable group of idiots in Laredo, Texas. Yes, they have idiots in Laredo, Texas, just like in New York and Chicago and Boston and Orlando and everywhere else, started a what chant during Jacob's promo because they're dumb. He said, though, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. So before WWE, Roman didn't call him. Jimmy didn't call him. Jay didn't call him. But you know who did? Solo called him. Solo gave him a chance. I mean, I wasn't going to say anything, but I thought that was going to be confidential. But yes, I did. I called Jacob during that time. Roman cut him off, said that Solo couldn't get a cup of coffee delivered to the building if he wanted to. Take a look around. Who do you think runs this place? And yeah, he's been a little distracted, but he never forgot about Jacob, and he's the one who signed off on his ass. But you sound a little confused, like a fool. Says, you don't deserve it. Said, you haven't earned it. Me allowing you to compete against me, that's nepotism, he says. I can't do that. And Jacob at that point grabbed him by the throat, backed him into the corner. Roman hit him with the mic just to try to break free and get him away from him. But then Jacob applied, I shit you not, the Tongan death grip. Man, I haven't seen this move in a very long time. So the Tongan death, Meng would be proud. And he puts the Tongan, he's not even Tongan, is he? See, Tama Tonga should be using the Tongan death grip. He puts the Tongan death grip on Roman. And he puts him down on the mat. And Jacob is telling him he's going to take everything from him. And the fans booed Jacob Fatu. And Fatu picked up the world title and he looked at it and then he dropped it, threw it down at Roman. Jacob leaves the ring. Roman is on the mat. He is sweating profusely. The man can make himself sweat on command. Very impressive. He was selling this move. And he grabs the microphone and he yells for Jacob. He's yelling his name, Jacob. He goes, you want me at Backlash? I'll see you at Backlash. And Jacob from the aisle, he didn't say this into the mic, but the camera picked up on what he was saying. He was looking at Roman in the ring and he told Roman, I'm not going to wait for Backlash. He goes, I'm going to see your punk ass on Raw next Monday. And this is good. Roman Reigns, true to his word, is showing up every single week. I have no issue with him having the World Heavyweight Championship if he's showing up on the show every single week and we're progressing and we're furthering whatever the story is that he's in. That was always my concern. Is he going to be here or is he not going to be here? You know, because for all of his faults and whatever you think of CM Punk, Punk was there every single week. Punk was wrestling and defending the title. I'm not even expecting Roman to do that, but I just want him on the show. So they're going to be back on the show next week, so that's good. But I'm just like, I'm watching this and I'm like, really? Like, they booed Jacob. Like, I've always said it. You guys, if you've listened to me for any length of time, you've heard me make this comment before. Like, the fans are the heels. They really are. What did this man do to deserve to get booed? What has Roman Reigns done to deserve to get cheered? Nothing. He has aura. That's it. That's why the people cheer for him. He's still an asshole. And again, he's manipulated his cousins into being by his side so that he can have backup. Although apparently I don't know what happened. Maybe they were locked in the dressing room or something. I would have expected the Usos to come out here. We know they were in the building. It made no sense that they didn't come out here during this segment. Maybe they were just that afraid of the Tongan death grip. Very possible. But like, again, Roman is still the same guy that he was a few years ago. He's a jerk. And the fans don't give a shit because, oh, he's cool. He's the tribal chief. Yes, they're fickle. That's right. They're fickle. These people are fickle. Fickle fuckers is what they are. And they're booing Jacob. So I don't think the idea here is for Jacob to play heel or turn heel or be the heel in this match. The fans are turning him heel for this match. And not because they don't like Jacob, but because they love Roman. So it was very weird. Like, I would have maybe expected a mixed reaction. It wasn't mixed at all. It was just like, boo. It was like, boo this man. I was like, whoa, okay. I wasn't necessarily expecting that. We'll see if it's going to be the same thing in other cities as well. I would imagine so. I don't know why it would be any, different than it was here in Laredo, Texas. But we got the match signed for Backlash. It was the match we expected. I'm looking forward to it. I just don't know what the end game is here when Jacob loses. That's the only thing I don't know. I'm not even sure if Jacob is necessarily going to settle in on Raw. This may only be for 2 weeks, and then he goes back to SmackDown. We're just not sure. Just like with Punk. I would assume Punk ends up on SmackDown because it's the move that makes sense, but they've said nothing about that yet. But by the way, I have to mention this. because I didn't mention it when I said the line in the promo. Roman's line in his promo, hitting him with the nepotism line, like, oh, I can't allow that. I can't allow nepotism. If I give you a title match, I mean, that's nepotism. I mean, that was richer than fucking Bill Gates when I heard that line. Holy shit. But like I said earlier at the beginning of all this, I thought the show was okay. Pretty average, boring at times, but it did the bare minimum that it needed to do, I think, to forward things for Backlash and even some of the other stories like the Judgment Day stuff. It just wasn't very interesting. You know, a lot of what they did tonight just was not very interesting. But they did what they had to do. And so far, the 3 matches that we know of for Backlash, of what will probably end up being 5, if we're lucky, maybe we'll get 6, are so far all Raw matches. I could see Rhea and Jade in a WrestleMania rematch for the other women's title on that show, especially now if we're not going to get Liv and Stephanie. I would imagine we get Rhea and Jade. Cody, I'm not even sure what his medical status is. I don't expect him to be defending that title on that show. And honestly, I mean, if Roman's on there, you don't need Roman and Cody on that show. I'm trying to think of what the other, like, SmackDown matches would be. I don't know. But we'll get our usual 5 or 6 matches. My hope for Io and Asuka is that they get more than the 6 minutes that Liv and Stephanie got at WrestleMania. That would be nice. If maybe they could go even 10. Wouldn't that be something? They've only been building this matchup for how many months now? You think they could spare 10 or 11 minutes for these 2 women? They've already taken away one of the key stars in the entire program. It'd be nice if they could at least hit double digits when they have their match. That would be nice. Anyway, let's get into your super chats here. Again, I'm not doing the polls anymore because OBS will not allow me to show you the polls anymore because reasons. I hit one wrong button and all of a sudden I can't get them to show anymore. $30 for 5 matches. Well, unless you have ESPN Unlimited, which I don't. If you have access to ESPN Unlimited through your provider, then you don't have to pay the $30. A lot of people still don't, though. That's the problem. Let's start with Chicago for MBK. And again, the goal tonight was kind of high. Goal tonight was 700. We were at 557, which is not bad. It's not 700, though. Chicago for MBK. I'm sure you're going to have an extended take on the Triple H contract and Nick Khan comments tomorrow. I don't know if I would say extended take. I might have a more extended take on the sound off next weekend. I mean, I'm gonna touch on it. It's nothing that shocks me. I will address it though on the Uncrowned Wrestling show tomorrow. Dry chicken without flavor. Nick Khan to Triple H after WrestleMania. No more, less is more. We need to maximize our shows and talent. We need to create new young stars. I think there was a realization across the board that they needed to call up a bunch of people from NXT because it was the same faces being used over and over again. It's just common sense. The Real CS 02. I would not at all be surprised if at least most of the top names on the roster in WWE have some sort of favorable clause written into their contracts that protects them from these talent cuts. Oh, I can guarantee you there are top talents in that company that have no cut contracts. Without a doubt. Absolutely. I don't know that it's every main eventer, but the people that you would expect to have that sort of protection in their contract probably have it in their contract. Let's just put it that way. Fried Chicken says TKO needs to keep the WWE house shows and add more to the States. Yeah, it's weird. You know, there was a period of time in this company where they were arguably running too many shows. And these guys were on the road all the time, nonstop, and away from their families nonstop. And so to go from that, to go from that to where they are now, I mean, you talk about swinging from one extreme to the other. There has to be a happy medium here. There's even a lot of talents that have commented about, like, man, we need more house shows. We need, I mean, some of them, like I've heard Randy Orton talk about the lack of camaraderie among roster members. I mean, true, but I mean, I would think I would be less concerned about that and more concerned about people just getting, you know, reps in the ring and being able to go out there and work. Right? Just got to work. You got to work. You got to get in there. You got to figure out what works, what doesn't work in front of a live audience. Can't do that at the Performance Center. It's not the same. Nico, thank you for the super chats. I got a whole bunch of them here. Hey, Solo, does Oba pass the airport test? Yes, he does. Oba Femi, I think the airport test was made for people like Oba Femi. Oba Femi comes walking by you in the airport. You're going to stop what you're doing. You're going to look up. You're going to take notice. Says, were you smiling or stone-faced while watching the Ric Flair interview in real time? No, I wouldn't say I was stone-faced. I was going back and forth between laughter and exchanging comments with some other people in the control room, and also putting my head in my hands. Twice I put my head in my hands. Also, he says Io versus Asuka should get more than 7 minutes at Backlash. And I meant to put interview in the other super chat. My bad. Also, these open challenges tonight, not feeling it. That's just me. Yeah, when they do multiple ones at the same time. At least on SmackDown, they had Lil Yachty said that Trick Williams ain't going to be doing the open challenge stuff anymore. See, Lil Yachty, he gets it. So at least we got rid of one open challenge. It's like whack-a-mole. You get rid of... I sound like Elmer Fudd now. You get rid of one. You get rid of one, 2 more pop up. It's ridiculous. They got rid of one on Friday, 2 more pop up on Monday. Unbelievable. Randy Bobandy. You refresh this here with the $9.99 super chat. There he is. Said, so I've seen this guy lurking at hog shows asking a question to wrestlers but never asked the commissioner. So I'm going to do it for him. Solomonster, what is your Waffle House order? Okay, well, the commissioner does not eat at Waffle House, number one. And if he did eat at Waffle House, my Waffle House order would be pancakes. CMJ World. Is Braun Strowman your favorite person now after being the reason that for the second time SmackDown is going back to 2 hours? No. They were going back to 2 hours regardless. I mean, they went back to 2 hours last year. We had 2 extra months of it, though. We still don't have an end date, by the way. The report was that it is going back to 2 hours in the next few weeks. We still don't know what week that is. We assume it's in the month of May. Last year, we had to wait until Independence Day, July 4th, before they went back to 2 hours. I'm just glad it's happening. Randy Bobandy, another $9.99, says, so beyond WrestleMania and all the cuts, the most shocking thing I learned was Braun Strowman's eating show got picked up for a second season. Look out, Gordon Ramsay. You've got some serious competition. I've never seen a single episode, but I wish him luck. I have nothing against the guy. I didn't say I didn't like waffles, by the way. I just said I love pancakes more than waffles. I try not to eat either one of them because they're fucking terrible for you, but of the two, I'm more of a pancake guy. It's some powdered sugar on top, syrup. Chicago 4 MBK, great crowd in Laredo, made for decent watching. Mark Hugh the Mark, can we fast forward to whenever Roman is dropping the title? Oh, you're going to be waiting a while. It's going to be a while before that happens. EJ Slemp, buy or sell Ricky Dozan versus El Santo, or Stu Hart versus Fritz Von Erich versus Gory Guerrero versus Peter Maivia. I mean, you're just throwing names out there now. Culturally speaking, El Santo and Ricky Dozan are probably the most culturally famous and significant wrestlers. I'll go with Ricky Dozan against El Santo. That's a pretty big main event right there, I would say. The Shaunathon. Have you watched the Hogan documentary yet? Love to hear your thoughts. I did, yes. I'll give kind of an overview of my thoughts tomorrow. I want to do something separate on the YouTube channel, but you will get my first thoughts on it tomorrow on the Uncrowned Wrestling Show. I just didn't have time yesterday because I had just finished watching the final episode, so I hadn't even put any like notes down or anything. I know I would have forgotten a bunch of shit, but yes, I will be talking about it tomorrow on Uncrowned. Diego Vasquez got dumped this weekend, but I'm glad to have you guys. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. We will never dump you, so you don't have to worry about that. Barry MK 400. If you have seen her, what do you think of Rosemary? Her character work has been amazing. I just wish she was on a bigger show than TNA. Yeah, I mean, what I've seen of Rosemary over the years, I think she's very good. Very committed to her character. So yeah, I'm a fan of her work. We've got Hoof-Hearted. Any thought if the Saudi PIF pulls funds from WWE as they did with the Live Golf Tour? I don't think the WWE is in jeopardy of anything like that. It's impossible for me to say that, you know, a couple of years from now, the Saudis may not want to just kind of pull funding if there's some sort of financial crunch that they find themselves in all of a sudden. The Live Golf thing is still relatively new. The WWE partnership they've had now for almost a decade. And by and large, both sides seem to be very happy with each other. They got a WrestleMania coming there next year. Most likely. You never know. Shit can happen. But right now, WrestleMania is coming there next year. I don't think that their relationship is in any jeopardy whatsoever. Not right now. Alexander says, imagine Joe Hendry gets def-rebelled. Now, wouldn't that be the ultimate insult? Take his own song away from him? Yeah, the relationship with Saudi started in 2018, and supposedly it was a 10-year deal. So if that is true, then I certainly wouldn't expect anything to happen before at least 2028. EJ Slem, buy or sell Oba, Eddie, Dude Love, Full Metal Mayhem, or Yuma Anazi, Axel Rotten, Austin Starr, Maximo, with actress Ariana DeBose as timekeeper. I don't know who half these fucking people are, so I'll go with option A. At least I know who everybody is in option A. I don't know who Yuma Anazi is. Death Scythe says, which horror movie scene that has haunted you the most? For me, it was the opening scene to Alien 3 and seeing a dead newt frozen in a silent scream. A dead newt? I mean, there were scenes in like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre that still haunt me. One of my favorite movies of all time. And what makes it so great is that it was all practical effects. I think it was Rob Bottin. Rob Bottin was the ultimate like measuring stick when it came to practical effects. And they were so great in that movie. The scene where they put the dogs in the kennel and the one dog starts to shake and then kind of cracks open, and it's the thing, and all the other dogs are like barking and yelping and like trying to get out of the cell, and then the thing, the legs come out and it starts spraying shit. Oh god, it freaks me out even just talking about it. Like there were multiple scenes like that in that movie that just freaked me the fuck out, live rent free in my head. I'll throw the Terrifier movies in there. Was it the first one? I guess it would have been the first one. There was a kill in the Terrifier movie where the guy was hanging upside down and he gets split right down the middle. I like that. I don't like that. I never saw another Terrifier movie after that because of that scene. Because I know it only gets worse. Apparently those other movies are even worse in terms of like the gore and everything. I was like, I'm not doing this. But I mean, if we're talking about like not even gory stuff in terms of like scenes that still stick with me without giving it away, I would say if it's not number one, it's pretty fucking high up there. Is the ending to The Mist. That to me, that still like actively bothers me. Like it bothers me. That's how good it is. Boomerang says, today is my 37th birthday. Can I get a birthday shout out? Much appreciated. Well, happy birthday, Boomerang. You're getting close to the big 4-0. Enjoy 37. Because before you know it, you're going to be 38. Then you're going to be 39. Then you're going to be 42. Then you're going to be dead. Sad the way Father Time just kind of creeps up on you, isn't it? I almost walked out of Terrifier 3. Yeah, that's why I have no interest in seeing the sequels. I don't know, like I like horror movies, but I have my red lines. I have my limits to the amount of like torture porn and gore that I can see. Even some of the Saw movies. I still haven't seen some of the Saw movies. You know, and I thought the first one was brilliant. First one is easily, having not seen all of them, I will say that in my opinion, the first one's the best one. Second one, not as good, but still a good movie. And they just seem to get progressively worse. Inventive with some of the kills, but I don't know, man. I mean, like Hostile and I mean, I don't need to get into some of the other ones. I don't even want to mention some of the ones I've seen. I mean, those are just fucked up. Yeah, I don't know. I have my limits to what I could tolerate. San Juan Wolf says, I'm low-key thrilled that Backlash is in Tampa this year, as it'll be my kid's first time watching a PLE in person. Overall, I enjoyed tonight's show, and I'm looking forward to Backlash. Much love from Florida. Well, that'll be very cool. Like the first time, especially as a kid, the first time you go to a show like that is always a memorable experience. Like I can still remember the first time I went to a live Raw. You know, and I wasn't a little kid at that point, but like when you go and it's your first, like my first WrestleMania in Miami, it's just the spectacle of it. You know what I mean? Like it's just, you take it all in and it's like, man, it feels like an experience. Only difference is now that experience is going to cost you a lot more money than it did back then. But no, he'll have fun. That's very cool. ASU. I'd like to issue an open challenge for some new writers to come in and make better shows. Yeah, how about we have an open challenge with some of the people backstage? Anybody want to step up and try to replace them? Deputy Dog says the third Saw movie had me in pain. That wasn't really there. The third Saw movie is the last one I ever saw in the actual movie theater, and I had to, I almost got sick. First of all, the theater was packed. I think we got there late. I think I went with my brother. And I literally had to, there were no seats. So I had to sit on the step. It's like, okay. And so I'm sitting there, and I think it was there's a scene in there where I think it might have been brain surgery or something. Like they basically opened up like the top half of the guy's head, and like his brain was exposed, and they were doing, I think it was that, if you know what I'm talking about, it was that scene, and it just hit me. And I went running out of the theater to the bath. I thought I'm going to lose everything. And then it ended up just being me dry heaving. Like, it was fine, but I don't know what it was. Something got to me, and I was like, I ain't going back in there. It's funny, the things that I can watch and I'm fine. And then sometimes I'll see something and it just gets to me. Lakers Pats, where do you rank Bruno on drawing power? I don't know that Bruno ever drew all that well outside of New York, or maybe Pennsylvania. It wasn't like he was like a national draw. He was still from an era that was very regional. So, I mean, we're talking about New York. In New York, like the Garden, he was a big draw. He was a huge draw. So, but again, everything, like, context is important. You can't really, it's not apples to apples to compare Bruno's drawing power, let's say, to like Roman Reigns and his drawing power. You can't, it's not fair. It's not the same thing. For his era and his time, he was a big draw. But it's not like he drew everywhere the way he drew in New York. Low King says, I fainted watching Crank 2. I don't think I ever saw that. Yeah, Human Centipede is one that I never have to see again for the rest of my life. More. JD is cool, but his supporters, man, so moronic. Oh, I thought you meant, for a second there, I thought you were talking about the Judgment Day. The Judgment Day is cool. Oh, man. Said, referring to that interaction you had on X on Wednesday. Interaction on X on Wednesday. I don't even remember what interaction that would have been. Number one, Homo sapien. Says the goal is 600, not 700. Is that so? Is that true? Did I misremember what the goal was? Well, I mean, if that's true, then we're already at 629. So that means we're going to be doing Be the Booker here in a little bit. Could have sworn it was 700. We got MVK with a $5 super chat. Do not watch Tusk. Oh, I think I did see, I didn't see that movie, but I think I saw something on YouTube. There was like a scene from that movie that disturbed me. Oh no, maybe it wasn't Tusk. No, it was Bone. Fuck, what the hell was it called? Bone, I don't know, Bone something. I was like, nope, not seeing that. MVK says, what Jacob did to Roman tonight was 100% the realest thing to just cut off Roman's BS. I thought Jacob was going to kick him, but it was cool. Yeah, and he got booed for it. These people are weird. Yeah, Bone Tomahawk. Yes. Bone Tomahawk. I could tell just from the one little clip I saw that that's not a movie I should probably be seeing. I have no plans. I have no plans on seeing Bone Tomahawk. Titans Toy Stories. Kairi cost Asuka at Backlash as a one-off appearance. I mean, I'd love it. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't. No, I don't. Also, have you seen James Romero's response to Ric Flair? Flair deserves. I mean, I have not, but I would imagine he probably he probably gave it back to Flair and deserved every word of it. He called him the Peanut Shell. Didn't even know the guy's name. He called him the Peanut Shell. Hopefully the Peanut Shell had a good response to Ric Flair. EJ, I built a chaos card from Be the Booker. Social media dream matches and AI WTF. It's in Rio like the IC tourney. I'll send buy or sell matchups. The Phantom Rio de Janeiro tournament. MVK says, rest in peace to comic book writer Jerry Conway, the co-creator of Marvel Comics' The Punisher and DC Comics characters Firestorm, Jason Todd, and Killer Croc. I'm sorry to hear that. I just saw that great teaser trailer the other day for Clayface. Speaking of horror movies, that's a horror movie. I can't wait to see it. Also, he says, Usos equal Mooks. Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing, you know, that these two just have fallen in line so quickly. They're the henchmen. Fox with the $9.99. I remember one horror movie where this girl who was missing an eye gave up on life and jumped right into a subway. Blood splattered everywhere. I love horror movies. That sounds like a something out of Final Destination. And B-Man the Champ, two deer walk out of a gay bar. One turns to the other and says, I can't believe you blew $50 in there. That was actually pretty good. Took me a second. But once I got it, I said, that's actually pretty good. He wrote, Day Spider-Man Let Gwen Stacy Die Too, Solomonster. Have you watched the new Michael Jackson movie yet? No. No. I don't really have any interest in seeing it, honestly. Feet of Clay. Yeah, you know what? I mean, I've had people say that this new Clayface movie was, or the person who wrote it, was directly inspired by the two episodes from Batman the Animated Series in '92. I think it was the first season, Feet of Clay, which I guess is his origin story. So that might be a good reason for me to actually go back and start watching the, which I never saw, believe it or not. I never watched Batman the Animated Series. And I think that might get me to do so. I see a lot of rave reviews, especially for those two episodes. So I'll have to check that out. Horror fan Craig, thank you for the $2. And more about the guy that was calling you an AEW shill. Again, you're going to have to be more specific than that. I get these comments every day. And everyone's saying it's a great show. Yeah, when I went to IMDb once, it had a very high score. It was probably like around a 9 out of 10. I was like, man, it takes a lot to get a high score like that on there. I'm like, that must be a pretty good series. Clayface is set in the same universe as the Batman, I believe. I don't believe that's true. No. I don't believe. My understanding is that this new Clayface movie is not set in the Robert Pattinson Batman universe. It's in the DCU. I guess maybe the Superman universe, but not the Pattinson Batman universe. It's clearly Gotham. I mean, one of the cop cars says Gotham on it. The thing about that is, like, This is the first time I think that DC is really doing a straight up horror movie. And I mean, we'll see how this movie turns out. I think it looks fucking amazing just from that 1 minute. But like, when you really think about like Gotham, right, and all the Batman villains, you know, like over the years prior to like the Dark Knight, prior to the Nolan movies, it was always very like over the top. You look at Jack Nicholson's Joker, and you look at, you know, Jim Carrey playing the Riddler, and the Penguin and Catwoman and everything. But like, you don't realize like how fucked up some of these like Batman villains really are. And if you take a more serious approach with them, like they seem to be doing here, I mean, there's so much. There's probably so many other like side characters and stuff that could get their own treatment. And if you really go like hard, like rated R, and just go the horror route with some of them, there's some fucked up villains in that world. Horror fan Craig says Dave Meltzer said there were several wrestlers more important to the wrestling business than Hulk Hogan, and that Hogan wouldn't be in his top 6. I mean, look, I'm not gonna argue it. Hogan was very important to Vince McMahon. He was very important to WWE. And Hogan was the right guy in the right place at the right time when it came to his national push. Was Hogan important to the wrestling business overall as much as people think he was? I think people overrate him in that regard. As far as like the business overall, you can't dispute like the importance to Vince and his company, and, you know, maybe mainstream American wrestling. You can make the argument, sure, but in terms of wrestling as a whole, I think his argument would be that Hogan was probably the opposite. You know, where Hogan did more to hurt wrestling overall than he did to help it. And I could see that. I could see his argument for that. Some people are going to hear that and go, oh, what are you talking about? But like, again, they have a very narrow view of things, where they grew up on Hogan, as I did. So, oh, well, Hogan's the end all be all, and he's, you know, the most singular, most important figure. Not necessarily. But he was a very important figure, you know, for a lot of different reasons. David Wilson, as I sit here about to eat, I hear Bone Tomahawk, and I'm reminded of a horrific scene that completely killed my appetite right now. That's why I'm never going to see it. Clayface, I heard, takes place before Superman and Supergirl. Yes, I believe that is true. Bone Tomahawk sounds like a great steak that you would have at a steakhouse. Anyway, bring up the wheel, and you guys were right. 600, not 700. So we smashed the goal. We are at 656. I thank you for that. Let's be the booker. Be nice if we had some music.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Doesn't hit the same without Noah's intro. Noah the Mark. All right, we get one round, it looks like, so we'll try to make the most of it here. Again, the thing is, like, we don't have a lot of luck on Wednesdays when it comes to Dynamite and Be the Booker. This is very likely going to be the last Be the Booker we do until next Monday, because I'm not here on Friday. I'll be in Los Angeles for the House of Glory show. So we gotta make this count. Or you guys got to bring the heat on Wednesday. Either way. But we're going to start off here with Bullet Club Gold. We have Jay White and Juice Robinson kicking us off. Still waiting on that Jay White return. Their opponents, Undertaker and Big Show. The Unholy Alliance against the Bang Bang Gang. Undertaker and Jay White. You think Undertaker would sell for Jay White? I wonder. All right, women's Be the Booker. We have got Candice LeRae. Candice LeRae against who? Candice LeRae against Alex Windsor. I'm in a generous mood tonight. Not exactly a star attraction match, but if you actually let Candice go out there and wrestle, this would be a perfectly fine collision match. That's what this would be. Main event. Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon. Always a spot open for him in the main event. I got no issue with that. But who is his opponent going to be? Ooh, look at this. Surfer Sting. Surfer Sting and Bryan Danielson. I like it. I like that a lot. Yes. Well, good. If this is the last Be the Booker we do until next week, we got a clean sweep. When do you start booking Collision? That's much bigger than your typical Collision main event. Hey, there's Vato Sting. We go from Surfer Sting to Vato Sting. That's quite the jarring transition there. MVK says the Loved Ones recommended horror film. Are you telling me that there's a film called The Loved Ones that you're recommending, or are you trying to say something else? I don't think I've heard of that before. The Loved Ones? I'm always down for a good recommendation. Last Be the Booker in April. Could be. Could be. It all depends on what happens with the Dynamite post show, which is the next time I'll be live on this channel. Wednesday night, we'll talk about Dynamite. We actually have 3 big title matches on Dynamite this week. Darby Allin against Brody King for the AEW World title. MJF challenging Kevin Knight for the TNT Championship. And then I believe the women's tag team titles are on the line. Lena Cross and Megan Bayne against Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida. So those matches are currently announced for Wednesday. Tomorrow, brand new episode of the Uncrowned Wrestling Show. Talk more about some of this release stuff. There's some more news that came out today. And I will have a lot of other news and notes, including thoughts on the Hogan Netflix documentary. So you'll definitely want to tune into that show. Again, you can find it on the Ariel Helwani Show audio podcast feed or the dedicated feed for the Uncrowned Wrestling Show. Either way, you can stream it in either place and make sure you subscribe. And then tomorrow night, of course, Tuesday Night Titans. So you're going to get a lot of me. Friday night, hopefully, if you guys are out west and can make it out to the show, we have a big show at the Globe Theater, House of Glory. Amazing Red and Speedball Mike Bayley, one of the feature matches on the show. It's going to be a good show. I will be on the call for that one. That's why I will not be here for SmackDown. Flying into California, flying back home the next day. Oh my God. I haven't heard that. Holy shit. You can see that's from 6 years. Dude, 6 fucking years have gone by. That was from the New Year's stream in 2020. We were all locked down. Fucking Mantar, man. Holy shit. I haven't heard that in forever. That is the Mantar bellow. That's like the Mantar mating call. That was Chris Mikesell. Mantar accepts Oba's challenge. Much love. My baby just started walking this week. Anthony Solo. Well, that's awesome. First of all, number one, that's one of those special moments you won't ever forget. And there you go. Mantar has accepted the open challenge for Oba Femi. I will be seated, as they say, next week. That's going to be part of the Raw review next week. We're going to review Oba Femi against Mantar. Scared the shit out of you. Oh, man. I missed the Mantar mating call. Thank you, Chris. Half man, half tar. EJ says, my 80s/90s booking. Andre Champ, Savage top guy, puts over Brett to Shawn. Hogan tags with Arcidi. Ted Arcidi. You're going to have Hogan team with Ted Arcidi. Also missed my Jay White buy or sell. That sound got my cat's attention. Hey. Every animal within a 10-mile radius, if they hear the Mantar mating call, believe me, their ears are going to perk up. Dog, cat, gerbil, it don't matter. Believe you me. But that 80s booking there, it's very interesting. Andre Champ to Savage top guy. Puts over Brett to Shawn. I'm wondering where this whole Hogan tags with Arcidi thing comes from. That seems like a bit of a waste of Hogan, as big of an attraction as he was. You said there was a Jay White buy or sell. I don't see it anywhere. Oh, no, here it is. I see it. Buy or sell Bret Hart versus Minoru Suzuki versus Yoshihiko, or Jay White versus Kaito Kiyomiya. I am sure that Jay White and Kaito Kiyomiya would be a fine match, but how the fuck am I going to vote against Bret Hart, Minoru Suzuki, and Yoshihiko, the blow-up doll? Of course I'm buying on that. Although I think Bret would be utterly just disgusted by... I don't know if Bret would be more disgusted by the blow-up doll or by the number of chops that Suzuki would. Because we know Bret Hart doesn't like chops. He doesn't even eat pork chops. He don't like chops. He don't like mutton chops. He don't like pork chops. I don't think he would like to be in the ring with Minoru Suzuki. Be entertaining as all hell, though. I'll tell you that. Devin says, when did WWE become more brand-centric instead of being about the individual wrestlers? Was it a product of the Attitude Era? No, I think it was more a product of... It was sort of a progressive thing as the 2000s went on, and I think it really took hold in the 2010s. I can't pinpoint the exact year because it was built around Cena. Cena was clearly like the star attraction for a while there. And somewhere along the way in the 2010s, it started to really shift in the other way to where it became more about the brand and the initials and not like the name on the marquee. The name on the marquee was WWE. The name on the marquee wasn't just John Cena anymore. It wasn't just Stone Cold. It wasn't Hogan. So it was a gradual shift, but they are just in full brand mode now. I mean, it is... Believe me, it's not about any one individual performer or two. Anyway, good stuff. Thank you guys. This was fun, which is always the point. Hopefully you guys had fun. Usually more fun than the actual shows. But I got a big day tomorrow. I got to get the audio wrapped up here so I can push the audio out. Try to get a few hours of sleep if I can. Wake up, do another show. Then we have another show to do tomorrow night. And then we have another show to do on Wednesday. And then I have a show to commentate on Friday. By the way, if you are not subbed to the House of Glory Wrestling YouTube channel, go ahead and sub. There are a couple of matches going up in the next couple of days. You can actually hit notify me, so it'll notify you when they get posted. They're all queued up and ready to go. They're going to be premiering on the channel in the next few days from our first LA show. I was not there for the first LA show. I know there were technical issues, and unfortunately, the show just never fully got released. However, some of the key matches now are going up from that LA show. So I believe earlier today, the women's title match with Shotzi and Viper's went up. You can hear my commentary on there. But there's two big matches going up in the next couple of days. One of them is Zilla Fatu against Willie Mack, which I did commentary for, and the Amazing Red against Andrade El Idolo. So make sure you check those matches out. That's from our first LA show in January. Hopefully there will be no such issues this Friday, and everything will be working just fine. And I will see you back here live on the channel for the Dynamite post show on Wednesday. And just before you go to bed tonight, do yourself a favor and let out a big Mantar bellow before you go to bed. Wait until it's like super quiet at home and in the neighborhood, and then just as loud as you possibly can. And let's see what the reaction is. You'll probably wake up half the neighborhood. It'll be the funniest fucking thing. Record it if you can even. That's even better. I'll see you back here on Wednesday. Take care, guys.